Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
Daniel, I recently had a client come in and she was crying when she's talking about retirement. And she's just afraid because she's climbed up the retirement mountain and she's looking over the edges and she's scared.
This game is to keep that mountain climber from falling off that cliff at the top of the mountain. How much did she miss it? The audience seems by a lot. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and he stopped on 25. He couldn't have taken one more step. You couldn't have come closer. How exciting.
Yeah, this is a phase of life a lot of people are in right now. And you spend most of your working life getting up that mountain, scrimping, saving, climbing. And then you get to the top and it can be scary. Let's explore today where people may be in that phase of life, where people may be on that retirement mountain. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy. And you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? We're glad to have you back with us and going through this rendition today. And we've got some good things for you. One of the things, that I find is that people spend most of their working lives, right, climbing up this retirement mountain. And, you go up that mountain in a two-seater sports car. It's fun. It's fast. It's sexy. It's exciting. Then you get to the top of that mountain and it is snow-capped covered. And you're up high and it gets scary because you're looking over the edges. Your life is changing, right? Your schedule is changing. Your paycheck is changing. Your friends are changing. Everything is changing around you. And how do you do that? What do you do about that? And then, when you get to the top of that mountain, do you really want to stay in a two-seater sports car across that snow-capped covered mountain and down the other side? Or would you rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before? Well, most of the people I talk to say, I want an all-wheel drive SUV, and I want to drive, or I want a professional driver, one or the other, right? But the point is, you want to change the vehicles, and that's what we're talking about today, is where are you? Because where you are on the mountain is critical to understand so that you can invest properly, because you invest differently from when you're going up the mountain than when you're going across the mountain. So what is the retirement mountain? This, people get up the mountain in their 401ks. That's the two-seater sports car that they're using. 401ks are built for people who are building and accumulating their money. They're built for young people, right? Where companies are trying to attract people to work for them. And they do that by having 401ks where they match and help people provide for their own retirements. It used to be yesteryear, people would have pensions where the company would provide. Well, with ERISA in 1974, companies started getting away from being the one providing the retirement plans and let employees start saving their own money. And with that, they have created these 401ks. It has mutual funds in there, and people have done very well with them over the years because of how they've invested in those through work. And then when they get to that top of the mountain, when they looking at retirement, it's like, what do you want in retirement? What is it? What are things going to be like now? And some people still have pensions. Some people have Social Security, but they still very much need to depend upon their own investments from that standpoint. So the retirement mountain is that time in life when you are not working for somebody else. You're working, your assets are now working for you. You're not working for your money. Your money's working for you. And it's important to be able to see and understand how your money's working properly.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think people forget what retirement is sometimes. Some people see it as saving for some unknown thing. And two things are really important to remember here when we're talking about the retirement mountain. One is you're saving for a purpose, and that purpose can be whatever you want it to be. Now, different people have different ideas of what retirement is, because some people want to sit home and watch Netflix, and some people want to travel. Some people want to spend time with family. Some people want to start a new career. Everyone has a different idea. And that's really what people need to visualize. That's what people need to get a grasp of what they want. The other is you're saving your assets, not so you can spend your assets in retirement, because that's scary. That's part of the why people get so scared once they get on the mountain, is because now they're thinking rates have only come down. That's what people think. People have not been paid to be savers. You've been penalized, especially for the last 15 years. You've been penalized to be a saver because your assets are dwindling. They're getting eaten up by inflation more than you can earn on them. Well, that's changed, at least for the moment. That's changed, where now you're not penalized for saving. Savers are being rewarded. And when you've built up that wealth, you're close to the top of the mountain, you can see that peak. It's time to start thinking about, how do I protect what I've got? How do I protect the gains that I've created? How do I protect the ground that I've gained? It'd be like thinking about, you're on the mountain, you're seeing the top, and you want to protect so you don't fall back down the mountain.
Right.
And that's where you start turning your assets into a renewable resource, right? Instead of hoping for those capital appreciation from your stock going up each time you look at the statement, to your stock or whatever you own, your security, your retirement portfolio is paying you. How much is it paying me today? Not how much did it go up or down today? How much is it paying me? What am I getting paid? It's funny because you see younger people argue about the only thing to be in is the S&P 500. And the people who've been in retirement for 10 years are like, I don't care what the S&P 500 has done historically. I want to know what comes into my checking account tomorrow. What can I spend? And people will be like, well, you're only getting 10% on that. And the S&P has done 200% over the last year, right? Like these ridiculous things. And the retiree is sitting there saying, who cares? Because if my portfolio drops by 50% and it's not paying me anything, I don't want to go get a job at Walmart.
Right. Don't want to have to go back to work or whatnot because you have to. So you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? And we have a paper to go along with today's show, and that's the Guide to Aging. If you'd like this paper, we'd love to send it to you. You can have it for free by calling 800-725-7616. The Guide to Aging goes through 7 age milestones to remember during retirement. Starting at age 50, it was when you're starting to transition into retirement, even though you might be, depending upon you, might be years away, 5, 10, 15 years away. But that's when you start transitioning, age 55, 59 and a half, 62, 67 years old, 65, 70. So this is a paper that will help you be able to understand what's coming. We understand it because we retire daily vicariously through our clients, but you need to be able to understand this, and we want to educate you on this. That's why Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy exists. So if you want your paper, call us 800-725-7616 to get your free copy. You know, this retirement mountain, the big question when you're in retirement, like Daniel was saying, it's not that you need, $1 million or $2 million or $5 million in retirement. What you need is a check to replace the check that you were getting during your working years. And that's part of where Social Security comes in. But, what we know about Social Security is, generally speaking, it only accounts for 40% of what somebody needs to go across that retirement mountain. And again, like Daniel says, you need to look and see, what is your definition of retirement? Everybody has different definitions. Sometimes I talk to a lot of people that when I ask them, what does your retirement look like? They can't answer the question because they don't know. And if, I talk to especially people who are maybe, 60, 65 years old, they don't have grandkids yet. Their definition of retirement is different than the people who have grandchildren, because different people want to do different things. And generally speaking, it's going to cost money, because what's the most important thing in life? Most important thing in life is relationships. In retirement, you should be working on relationships rather than much of anything else, because that's what the true meaning is. So, going across, what is a retirement mountain? It's that time of life when you are able to retire, use your assets that you've been working for all these years to be able to compensate you and to be able to provide for you to stay in retirement. And, when you go across, during that retirement mountain, you have what's called the go-go years of retirement, the slow-go years of retirement, and the no-go years of retirement. And you need to make sure that your money is able to take care of that, because people's greatest fear in retirement is running out of money before they get down that mountain.
So something that should be intuitive to people, maybe it's intuitive to people, but I guess the typical advisor gets taught the opposite of this. So when we talk about retirement planning, you're starting at the bottom of the mountain. You just got a job. You're going to work. You're collecting money. You're excited. You have tons of energy, right? You're starting to climb the corporate ladder. You're also starting to climb the retirement mountain, because you start taking money and putting it in your 401k, putting it into IRAs, putting it into Social Security, right? These are all ways that we're preparing to be on top, to get to the top of that retirement mountain.
Right.
And we talk about how much should you save? What is the right amount to put away? And that's based on how big you want your retirement to be. That's based on all these kinds of things. But it's not as black and white as I think a lot of people make it, because we keep talking about that. And then one day they say, okay, stop saving and retire, right?
Right.
Is that typically how the listening audience out there, isn't that how your person works with you? Like, you're going to retire, you're going to save. And then one day you're going to stop saving. We're going to flip the switch and you're going to start spending that money down, right? We prepare reports for our clients that show how much their portfolio is generating for them. So it's more gradual. You start by how much you're going to save, how much you're going to save, how much you're going to save. And then you start watching your income get bigger and bigger. So it goes from, Mr. and Mrs. Retiree putting $24,000, $28,000, $50,000 a year saving to, look at, now your portfolio is generating $10,000. Now it's generating $20,000 a year of money you can take. Now it's and pretty soon it passes what you were saving. Now you don't have to save anymore because your portfolio is doing the saving for you, right? So
That's
now
right.
Instead of you saving $50,000 a year, your portfolio is 60. Now it's 70. Now it's 80. Now you say, all right, we're not going to save this 80,000 that my portfolio is saving for me. You can still put 50 in. That's not a problem, right? But you know how much your portfolio is saving for you. And then one day you say, I'd like to start collecting that money instead of my funds reinvesting $80,000 a year.
Right.
I would like to start collecting that $80,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to see that happening before you actually retire and be ready to just receive that. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? We've got a book that we'd love to give away to you before we go to break. And this book is The Retirement Income Story by David Scranton. And this book is an easy read book that has a lot of information in there, be able to help you prepare for retirement, prepare for the retirement mountain as you get to the top of it, so that you understand what's happening before it happens. So we love to put this in your hand to the first 5 callers, first-time callers, at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. And stay tuned as you come back as we talk about, where are you on the retirement mountain? We talk about how you get up the retirement mountain. We continue to talk about how to get up it. We'll be right back after this.
How much did she miss it? The audience seems by a lot.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Dollar cost averaging is a great way to get up the retirement mountain. You put money in little by little every week through your paycheck into your 401k plan. The market goes up, you buy shares. The market goes down, you buy more shares. The market goes up and your money jumps up. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about where are you on the retirement mountain? And today we are trying to explain and talk about what a retirement mountain is. We talk about the retirement mountain all the time, but what is a retirement mountain? And AAA, how does dollar cost averaging help you climb that mountain?
Well, people, a great example is if you put in $100 in, 2000 when the market was high and you bought $10, it was $10 a share and you bought 10 shares and then the market goes down and you just put another $100 in and now it's $5 a share. You bought 30 shares, 20 shares with that $100. And then now you own 30 shares. The market comes back, to where it was, in 2000. Took about 2007, it comes back, and your 30 shares is now worth $10 a share, which is $300. So it's a beautiful thing, right? Because you invested $200, you got $100 more because of the market just growing, and that's what's happened, over the years when people are working years, they're putting money in. When they're earned from their paychecks into the market, and when the market goes up, market goes down, they keep buying shares. And so when the market jumps up or goes up again, their account values jump up and people make a lot of money. And this dollar cost averaging is a great opportunity people have to be able to save money. And people will say, oh, I made a lot of money in my retirement plan over the past 15 years. Well, the past 15 years, was 2008, a lot of ups and downs during that period of time. And the downs allows you to buy more shares so that when it comes up, the shares are worth more. But when you're on that retirement mountain, it's a different deal because now you're going to take money out. But that's how people make money, is by putting it away and getting up the mountain. And they typically do it in a 2-seater sports car known as their 401k plan. And it's a beautiful thing. It works fantastically when you're going up the mountain.
Saving while you're saving. When you keep saying going up the mountain, you're talking about taking money out of your pocket, out of your paycheck, and putting it into your investment portfolio.
Correct.
It doesn't work if you're not saving.
Right.
Right? Because if you had $100,000 and you invested it in 2000, all the way to 2013, the market went up, the market came down, the market went up, the market came down, right? You would have $100,000, and that's with no fees. That's with you not freaking out at any of those things. It only works if you're saving, and that's what dollar cost averaging is about, right?
Exactly.
It's about young people climbing the mountain. You got tons of energy, lots of strength, right?
Yeah.
You're climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother you that you got tired and you need to sit down and take a break because you're in it for the long run to get up the mountain, right?
Right. 30, 40 years is a long time, right? To go up that mountain. Right. And like you say, you got a lot of energy, that 2-seater sports car is fun, it's sexy, it's going up, you see your account value.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Right. And the market comes down. You don't look at your statements because that is bad news. Right. But then the market goes up again. You look at your statement and say, wow, look how much it's grown. Right. And
it's like you're walking next to the cliff and you see at the edge there, but you just don't look. Right. You just don't look because you're not climbing down. You're still going up. You just walk over somewhere else where it's fun and keep going up the mountain.
Exactly. That's the idea. And it's little by little. You put this money away little by little. So, it really needs to come out little by little, because if you don't, most people pay a lot of taxes on it. But the key is putting that away, keeping it away, letting it grow. And most often it's growth, right? It goes from $10 a share to $11 a share to $13 a share, and goes like that. Now, sometimes it goes down the other direction, but if you're putting money in, if it goes to $7 a share and you're putting money in, you're going to buy more shares. So that's a great thing. Dollar cost averaging is a beautiful way to accumulate retirement assets during your accumulation years. It's fantastic. But the big question is, and the big deal is, well, when you get in your distribution years from retirement, you got to change. But we'll get more to that later on. In the meantime, I want to let you know that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain. And we have a paper that we'd love to give you to help you understand where you are, or if you're even on the mountain. Typically, you're on the mountain when you start saving money, and you get closer to the top the older that you get. So this is a paper called Guide to Aging to help you understand the different ages during the retirement mountain. So we love to put this in your hand. 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call them now. Where are you on the retirement mountain? Getting up that mountain is one thing, but when you get to the top, it's another point, right? Are you on the ascending aspect? Are you on the top? Are you on the descending side? Well, that's what we're looking at today. Daniel, when we're talking about this, getting up the mountain, we talked about that. A lot of times people are using mutual funds to get up the mountain, right? And most of the time,
I think there's a few different things, right? Because retirement is, we call it the three-legged stool, and ideally you have more than three legs, but minimally you need the three legs to the stool to have a good relationship, or to have a good retirement. So one is Social Security. So that's automatic. You start working, that starts coming out of your paycheck. So you're saving one way from that. Now, depending on how big you want your retirement to be, depending on what you want to do, that may be 25% of your retirement, that may be 30% of your retirement. That should not be your full retirement.
Right.
So you need to do more. So there's, as you explained earlier in the show, there's these things called 401ks, and you're allowed to take money out of your paycheck, put it into the 401k, and that's where the dollar cost averaging comes in, what we've just been talking about. And that goes into, like you said, typically ETFs or mutual funds. And these have done really good, especially over the last 12 years, like you said, 15 years, for multiple reasons. One was because 12 years ago, we were in, a recession where everything was down. So everything just came up since then. Two is interest rates have been 0%, basically for that whole time. Right. So companies like Apple, who we all love Apple, it's a great company, but it's part of their growth has been a little bit manipulated. Why? Because the CEO's compensation is based off of the share price. So Apple and other companies, I'm not picking on Apple, but this is what most S&P companies did. They issued debt at 2 or 3%, and they took that debt and they bought back their shares. And that gets the CEOs rich because now their stock options are worth more money, and that drives up asset prices. So it helped everybody. Well, now when Apple, when the US Treasury, the safest thing on earth, is issuing 5% notes, what do you think these corporations are going to issue at? They can't issue it at 0% or 1%. I think Amazon issued bonds at like 1% for like 50 years, or, ridiculous things, right?
Right.
So those ups and downs help the saver as they're accumulating. And then when rates are low and CEOs are buying back their own shares, that all helps the saver. And then the dollar cost averager, let's call it, the people climbing that mountain. And then the third thing would be something else. It could be savings. It could be your crypto account. It could be real estate that you have, right? Most people, the next thing is their house, but some people do rental real estate. Some people do another investment account, right? Some people, it's their business, and they're putting their time and their money into their business, and they're going to turn that into income sometime. So that third leg to the stool is considered personal savings. And that could be any of those kinds of things that we talked about. These are all the things that are helping you get up that retirement mountain. It's slow. It's gradual. You don't see it right away. But then 20 years later, you look back and you say, look at these assets that I've accumulated, right? Or that would be like you're halfway up the mountain and you're looking down, look how high I climbed. Look, I'm way up here. It slowly, gradually happens. Right. And it starts compounding. It starts moving faster. You start seeing I'm up higher. And then as you're getting closer to that, you start getting a little shaky. You see your fingers start turning a little bit blue because the elevation's so high, right? And you start saying, what's going on here? What's going on? You're looking at these cliffs and you're saying, what's going on? It's beautiful, it's exciting, but it's something that you haven't experienced before.
Yeah. It can be scary and frightening at the same time. Yeah, exactly. Get both sides, right? Bittersweet. Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, and we're going to need to take a break. But before we do, we want to give you this book called The Retirement Income Story by our friend David Scranton. And this is going to be able to help you to be able to discern and prepare better for retirement. We'd love to give you this book for free. It's a $25 book. Put it in your hands for free for the first 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. Call for your free copy. You listen to Financial Strategies. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? We'll be right back after this. Call now.
How much did she miss it? The audience seems by a lot.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Tallest mountain in the world is Mount Everest, and it's thought that it's thought that Sir Edmund Hillary was the first to get up to the top and reach that peak of Mount Everest. Well, it's thought that perhaps George Mallory got there before Sir Edmund Hillary, maybe 20 years earlier. But the problem is, George Mallory didn't get down. His body was found up at the top. Now, what's with that? Well, how did Sir Edmund Hillary get up and get down successfully? Because he hired a Sherpa, somebody from the area that knew the ins and outs, how to get up, how to get down safely. And that's when we're looking at the retirement mountain. The question is one thing to get up the mountain. Are you going to be able to get down the mountain safely? I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about, where are you on the retirement mountain? And AAA, there are plenty of people to help investors, the general public, savers, get up the mountain. And so we're not going to focus any time on getting up the mountain, because there's tons of people that are able to do that. What we are focusing on is helping people understand what phase they're in and get the right people to help them in that phase. Now, some people may be able to do it for themselves. Some people may need help doing that. Some people may not be interested in retirement at all. We don't know where these people are, but we're going to explain. So that first phase of getting up the mountain is a very critical part, and it takes a lot of self-discipline, because you need to move your consumption from today to the future, right? You need to take assets that you're earning and not consume them, so that you can have a better time in the future. You call that the older version of yourself, right?
Right, exactly.
So people, if you're in that phase of life, you can find someone who can help you, or you can take some classes on how to do that. You can talk to your HR people on a strategy for your 401ks. The Social Security, you're just counting on the government. People who are closer to 50, or who have already built up some wealth and they want to preserve that, that's kind of getting close to that mountaintop. And this is where you start thinking about protecting your wealth and it creating an income for you. If that's real estate, now you're collecting maybe some of that money instead of reinvesting it.
Right.
If it's your 401k, when you're 59 and a half, there's special privileges you're allowed to do, we'll get into, so you can start protecting your money instead of just accumulating money.
Right.
And you're getting ready for the safe journey back down. And I think that's where you're getting at with Mount Everest, right?
Right. Exactly. And it's very important to get up, but it's important to get across. And one of the things that we do for people in being kind of like their financial Sherpa is providing guardrails for them. and to be able to make sure that they don't fall off the mountain, and being that chauffeur, that professional chauffeur, taking them across from that standpoint. But being on the mountain, it's important to be able to understand what you want to do on that mountain, right? In retirement, and what you do with your assets. Like you said at the beginning, that the different phases, stages that you go through. And just like, a child, when they're a child, typically go to pediatricians these days, right? And then they become adults and they go to a general practitioner. And then as they get older, they have, a lot of different specialty doctors they go to for whatever reason, right? And then, you have people that end up going to a geriatric doctor later on in life from that standpoint. So you have different doctors who have different specialties for different things. In the same fashion is the financial world. People don't realize this is a very specialized world we live in today, and things are not easy. I mean, Daniel, we used to work on cars, right? And do our own stuff. And today, typically, we don't work on cars anymore, right? Unless we're working on an old car, because today's cars are so specialized, and, many times like a computer's on wheels for a lot of reasons. But that's what's happening across the board in the financial industry, if you're in the law industry, right? I found out that I had the wrong attorney because I didn't have the right specialty for the attorney that I needed. And, we see it in the medical profession. It seems like there's new specialties coming out every few months. There's a new specialty that you haven't heard of. But that is the key when you're on the mountain, to have the right help on the mountain and be doing the right things with your investments. There's that time when people are climbing up the mountain, right? And they're accumulating money. And then there's a time on the mountain and down the mountain when they're receiving it, money's being distributed to them to live on. Then there's also in between there's the transition time where you kind of like have one foot where you're accumulating and another foot to, set up for distribution. But, that is, as we defined today, where are you on the retirement mountain is basically the three things, right? One is accumulation stage, one is the transition stage, and the other is the distribution stage. And, how you invest your money during those times is different. And that's what's key for the transition stage is what you mentioned as well, Daniel, the 59.5, but we'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, I want to remind you that if you just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? We have a paper we'd love to give to you to be able to help you learn and discern more. This is called The Introduction to the Universe of Income Generating Financial Strategies. That's a mouthful, right? So the universe of income generating investments, you might say. So 800-725-7616, get your free copy of this. This is going to give you an idea of how to, what kind of investments are used during the distribution stage or the transition stage. And this will be very educational to you and help you in a lot of ways. I would highly recommend it. Call for your free copy of Universe of Income Generating Investments, 800-725-7616. Daniel, this going across the mountain, we tease people with the idea of a 59.5, right? And what happens at 59.5? That's significant to people.
Well, the government realizes that you're getting to the top, close to the top of that mountain, and it's time to switch phases. It's time to switch strategies from an accumulation state of life to more protecting your assets. And so they allow you to roll your money out of your 401k, out of your 403b, and put that into investments that are better designed for someone who wants to protect their assets, for someone who wants to start generating an income. Because the whole thing is, in that 401k, it's designed like you've been using that two-seater sports car. It's designed to go fast, not really tough, not really durable. It's designed to go fast and be fun and move and be exhilarating. Well, people don't need that when they're getting to be 59.5. They've seen it enough. They've gone through multiple corrections. They don't want that. They don't need that. They don't need that stress in their life. They want to sit back and let their money work for them. So when you're 59 and a half, you're allowed to roll this money out of your 401k,
Right.
403b, and put it into something that's best suited for you in the phase of life that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that without a taxable event, which is an amazing thing. So the government realizes that there's these different phases of life. I don't know if all advisors realize that, but the government does.
Right. Exactly. It was smart. One of those smart things they did, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's available to people to start getting ready for the distribution. You can still save. You can still put the money away. You can still have aggressive money, but you can start solidifying some of that money that you've made.
Right.
You can start having that money work for you. And when I say work for you, what I mean is it pays you. It's not you're hoping that the value goes up.
Right.
But it's actually putting money into your account. You can watch the dividends come into the account and you know how much it's going to pay you. Now, if you're in this phase or you're in the next phase, good news for you, because the Federal Reserve has been hiking rates like crazy and it is good for you. Don't listen to the financial media saying how bad it is or it's scary or it's this or that. If you're a saver, this is good for you. If you're in that, what do you call it? Transition phase of life or in the distribution phase of life, you've already accumulated your wealth. This is an amazing opportunity for you where you can actually earn some real money on your assets.
Right.
If we look back 150 years, S&P with dividends has done about 9%. In good corporate companies, in their corporate bonds, you can earn about 7, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit.
Nice.
Good stuff. So why take on the extra risk?
At half the risk or less than the market, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of good opportunities for people in that phase of life. And you should be happy. You should be excited. You should be looking at these things because Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve are making it much easier, much less stress for those retirees right now. But you have to take advantage of it and know what phase you're in.
Well, a lot of people don't know how to do that, right, Daniel? You're saying you need to take a look at that, but people don't know what they're even looking at, right? They don't realize that's what's so good about the paper we're giving away today, because it helps people understand, on one side you got the stock market, on the other side you got the bank, but people don't realize there's a whole slew of investments in between because that's not what Wall Street wants them to know, right? Most people are so enamored by the offensive of investing and growing their money and accumulating their money, they don't think about the defensive side. And as you get to the top of that mountain, that's the whole point. You're going from an offensive perspective to more of a defensive perspective. Like Will Rogers said, I'm more concerned about the return of my principal rather than the return on my principal when you get into the retirement phase. Because like you said, you built up your money and now you want to be able to have the interest, the dividends off that money. Because, typically, a lot of us have parents that said, live off the interest, not off the principal. You're listening
and there hasn't been an easier time to do that.
Exactly.
Right now in the last 15 years. It's an amazing time to be retiring if you're looking at it properly.
Yeah, but people don't know how. Even a lot of professional financial people don't know how to look at it properly because they haven't been taught. They don't know how to deal with these kinds of universe of income generating investments. So it's important to be able to get it right. Well, it's time for us to take a break. Want to talk more? Love to stay tuned as we come back. But in the meantime, we'll love to give a book away to the first 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. Retirement Income Story by David Scranton. It's going to be able to give you some insight into how to prepare for retirement when you're approaching the top of the retirement mountain. We'd love to give this book away again for the first 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. Call now.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and he stopped on 25. You couldn't have come closer. How exciting.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
There's 2 minutes left in this basketball game. You're up 25 points. What do? Do you put the first string in? Do you go offensive and just go like hog wild to accumulate the points? Or do you put the second string in and sit back and just run the clock out? I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about where are you on the retirement mountain? And we've been breaking this down into 3 phases. The accumulation phase, where you build up your wealth. The transition stage, where you are solidifying the growth, you're preparing, you're protecting your money. You're saying, like you said, your quote earlier, the return of your principal. You're getting it ready so you will get your principal back. Not so much the return on the principal, not hoping it gets bigger and bigger. And then the distribution phase, where you start actually collecting off of your portfolio. And that's like starting to climb down the mountain.
And go across it. Go across and down, right? Is what it is. It's one full smooth swoop, right? Is how that works, right? Because going down should be nice and smooth. It shouldn't be any drastic changes. But, one of the keys with that, Daniel, is when people are in the distribution phase, too many times people think it's like the bank. Oh, I'm going to take out of my account. I've got $2 million. I'm going to take out $50,000 a year. Wrong. You don't take the money out. That's how you run out of principal, right? That's a retiree's greatest fear is running out of money. What needs to happen is to transition your money into dividends in income and interest paying investments that pay you, maybe in that example of $2 million, $140,000 a year of interest and dividends. If you don't need the whole 140,000, we'll take what you do and we'll reinvest the rest so that your 2 million gets bigger. But in the meantime, you're just living off the interest and off the dividends as you go across and down the mountain to the other side, right? It's a beautiful thing. Distribution. But too many times people try to engineer income by taking out. And and it's just a crazy thing. It's just crazy what people do, right, Daniel?
It's absolutely crazy, and it's really interesting how our brains have been trained these last 40 years as rates have just continued to come down, and it's a completely different ballgame. So much so that like the running joke, right, is that you buy bonds. You're talking about U.S. government long bonds, right, for your capital gains, and you buy stocks for your income because bonds have not. These long-term treasury bonds have been like 1%. You can't earn anything, but rates keep coming down. So it drives the price of the bond up and you get capital gains. Right. And the stocks have been paying dividends, but now the game's totally changed where you can get equity-like returns and especially corporate credit without taking on equity risk. It's a crazy thing. You have to be careful. Okay, there's 2 things. The paradigm has shifted tremendously. It's an opportunity, but you have to be very careful because there's the strong and there's, the zombies.
Right.
And if you go just buy a fund of corporate credit, you go buy a bond fund, you're getting both. The last 15 years, it was just good to buy an index. But we're so bifurcated right now. Mm-hmm. And it's really, in my opinion, it's time to pick individual companies, both if you are looking for dividends in the stock market or equities, or if you are looking for, like we're talking about here, a lot of corporate credit where they pay you, you're way higher up in the capital structure, and you can pick the companies that have these rock solid balance sheets. What's wrong with getting paid 7% from a company, right, that what's going on?
Right.
You know that you're going to buy 10,000 bonds. Mm-hmm. You're going to collect $700 a year off of it, right? Mm-hmm. And in 5 years or 10 years, whatever maturity that is appropriate, you get your $10,000 back.
Right. It's a beautiful thing, right? You don't have to hope. You're going to get it, right? As long as the company is a solid company. That's exactly right. And it's, the world today is a different place, and that's where the specialties are important, to be able to have somebody that specializes in what you need. If you're trying to grow your money, get somebody that specializes in growing your investments. If you're trying to retire, we'll get somebody that specializes in income planning. And, from that standpoint, our company is, I don't think you're going to, it's not trying to be braggadocious, just trying to do the right thing. Is our company, you're not going to find somebody that gets more income, generates more income from less money than our company. We'll be able to do that. There might be some that might tie, but most people don't come close. So anyway, the point is, it's kind of like this. A CD today, you might be able to get 4 or 5% 2-year CD. Maybe if it's a 5-year CD, hey, that's a great thing. But the problem with that is that what happens in 2 years when it comes due, and 5 years when it comes due? What will interest rates be then? Well, our clients are getting 6 to 7% now, and will continue to get 6 or 7% in 5 years, basically. And so it's a beautiful thing for the long term, for the elder person that you are, right? Today, you're younger than you're ever going to be again, unfortunately, but you're the younger person. And then tomorrow, you're going to be the elder person. We need to make sure that the younger person is taking care of the younger person as well as the elder person. And that's what it's about. So that's why we like to give you this paper that we have today. It's called Introduction to the Universe of Income Generating Investments. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, where are you on the retirement mountain? This paper, Introduction to the Universe of Income Generating Investments, will help you be able to understand how to get across the mountain and down to the other side safely. Just like, Sir Edmund Hillary had a Sherpa to get him down the Mount Everest safely on the other side. This information will help you be able to understand how somebody's going to be able to help you get down the other side. Don't try this at home, but still learn so that you can make smart decisions, because people don't know what people don't know. Call for your paper now, 800-725-7616. Daniel, we just have a few minutes left, right? So, what do you have that we can give to these people as we finish up today's show?
Well, I think it's very important to understand what phase you are in life and invest in accordance with that. And I hope we were able to break those down, which of those phases people are at. And right now, the Federal Reserve has given you a wonderful opportunity to be able to actually earn some yield on your savings. Mm-hmm. This is a new paradigm for most people, because it's been so long since there's been an interest rate. Right. And it's a shift, because if we have equities at close to all-time highs that are not really paying anything, you look at what analysts are coming out with, and the numbers that they come out both for earnings and for dividends are they look made up, right? They look like it's just, what they need to do so they don't lose their job. And that may be more of a truthful statement than people think, because if you talk to people who used to be analysts for some of these big companies, they will tell you if they said what they thought, they would have lost their job. Mm-hmm. So there's opportunities right now where you have to be careful, because like I said, there's really good companies and there's more bankruptcies, both personal and corporate, than I think we've had since 2008. So you have to be careful what companies you're choosing. And that's why picking individual companies where you can look at the balance sheet and you can see that it's a reputable company and it will be able to give you your money back. You will be able to collect the income that you need without the crazy roller coaster ride of the stock market.
Yeah.
Solidify some of those gains that you already have and start preparing. If you're in that plateau, if you're up, you feel you're so close to the top of the mountain, you feel you're so close to retiring, you're thinking about it. Start protecting those retirement assets and getting them ready to start paying you. It's the best time possible to do it. If you need help, then we can help. We're selective of who we're able to work with. We can't help everyone, but we are able to help those people who are really concerned about protecting that and helping them generate the proper income they need to have that retirement.
Right.
But
Right.
there is college classes you can take. There's certificates you can get. There's things that you can do if you want to do it yourself, and do yourself a favor and really take the time to look at this. The studies show that more people spend more time researching their dishwasher or their refrigerator than they do preparing for retirement. So take some time, get the help that you need, look at this, and take advantage of what's going on with rates right now, because the ballooning debt is not going to allow these rates to stay this way forever.
Right. Right. Good advice. Good advice, Daniel. Yeah. So the accumulation stage, the transition stage, the distribution stage. If you're looking to move into the transition stage or distribution stage, we'd love to be able to converse with you about that. Or if you have any questions, comments, give us a call, 800-725-7616. We'd love to be able to field those and give some answers and on the air and that kind of thing. But in the meantime, we'd like to leave you, as we have close up today, with this book, Retirement Income Story by David Scranton, and we'd be able to give you some good insights into preparing and what it will look like when you get to the top of that mountain and down to the other side. We'd love to put this in your hand for free by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 to the next 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. Listen, you've been listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic, where are you on the retirement mountain? Questions, comments, give us a call. But we are looking forward to helping you to be stress-free in retirement.